Hey, Jeff, is that the same Goonies t-shirt I saw you wearing last week?
Maybe. I admit it, Ray. Since the pandemic hit, my wardrobe has suffered.
No, I totally get it. I'm not shaving much,
Right.
obviously. I wear the same jeans for days on end. I mean, it's just tough to make an effort right now.
So do you think once this is over, maybe you'll start trying again?
I've never been a fashionista, so probably not.
Okay.
Besides, it's what's on the inside that counts, right?
It's tough once you go casual to go back to the time and expense of, dressing up.
Right.
Plus, where we're heading today, I don't really expect we're going to see anyone except maybe a hiker or two.
All right, we just passed through the town of Raymond, New Hampshire, and now we'll head north on Route 156.
Hopefully, if we do see any hikers, they won't judge us by our appearance.
Right?
So we're making our way to the state park right next to the lake north of Raymond in search of the Barefoot Farmer of Pawtuckaway. I'm Jeff Belanger, and welcome to episode 173 of the New England Legends podcast. If you give us about 10 minutes, we'll give you something strange to talk about today.
And I'm Ray Auger. It's fitting that Raymond, New Hampshire is the next stop, right?
Raymond, right?
We chronicle every legend in New England one story at a time. Did you know that so many of our story ideas come from you, our legendary listeners? This story right here was from Dana Stewart. We'd love it when you guys reach out to us through our website, through social media, our super secret Facebook group, through our free New England Legends smartphone app, or by calling or texting our Legend line anytime at 617-444-9683.
But before we get too far into Pawtuckaway State Park, searching for the Barefoot Farmer, we'd like to take just a minute to tell you about our sponsor, Nuwadi Herbals. Ray, it's getting colder, and I've been sipping quite a bit of Nuwadi Herbals tea these days.
Me too. And considering it's December, I've been drinking a lot of the Nuwadi Herbals Christmas tea.
Yeah.
You can taste the blend of cinnamon, cloves, ginger, orange peel, and green tea.
And what I love about all of Nuwadi Herbals products is that they're Native American-inspired products, and that they're great for the mind, body, and spirit.
Another tea I've been loving is their root berry tea.
Oh, okay.
When you open the bag, it smells like root beer. I like to add just a little sugar or honey to mine, and it becomes a great afternoon treat.
And folks, this isn't some big faceless corporation. Please support this family-run business because they're supporting us. They have unique products, not just teas, though they do have a lot of teas, and I am a fan. They also sell balms, massage oils, bath salts, and all kinds of things that would make a great holiday gift for your friends and family.
And this is so cool, especially if you're going to buy them for gifts and you have a lot of people to buy for. Our legendary listeners get 20% off your order when you use the promo code LEGENDS20 at checkout. So visit NuwadiHerbals.com. That's NUWATI Herbals with an S.com.
Okay, Ray, back to finding this Barefoot Farmer. Looking around, it seems pretty empty here at the Tower Road parking area of the Pawtuckaway State Park in New Hampshire.
Yeah, I just see a few cars. I imagine this place looks pretty different in the summer.
Sure.
With Pawtuckaway Lake right here, this is a great area for a summer getaway. But the guy we're looking for isn't associated with the lake?
No, we're looking for a farmer named George Goodrich.
Okay.
His family owned all this land long before it became a state park. This used to be a big farm. So let's head up this trail into the park. Okay, if you look up ahead.
Okay, yeah, I see an old cellar hole. And yeah, over there I see a small cemetery surrounded by an old colonial stone wall.
This is the Goodrich family plot. These headstones give us a clue about the tragic tale we're about to explore.
Wow, look at that headstone. So it reads, Sally, wife of Bernard Goodrich, aged 101.
Yeah, a long life for her for sure, but some of these other stones tell a sadder story.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Look at these 5 headstones. 4 Goodrich boys and their father all died in the span of just a few months during the winter of 1833 to 1834.
Well, to find out how this happened, and so we can meet the famous Barefoot Farmer, let's head back to 1790 and set this up.
It's the spring of 1790, and Sally and Bernard Goodrich have just moved to the area north of Raymond, New Hampshire, from their former home in Massachusetts.
Farming up here is tough. We're in the mountains. The soil has a high acid content, making it difficult for crops, and there are tons of rocks, meaning plowing fields is treacherous.
Part of the reason you see colonial stone walls marking property lines all over the countryside of New England is because all those rocks were pulled out of the ground for farms. The rocks had to go somewhere, so the walls became the place to leave them.
Now, though the Goodrich family are one of the first families to move in and set up a farm here in Pawtuckaway, they're not the last. Soon, there are several families here trying to make a go from working the land. But it's a tough life. But folks like the Goodriches are tough people. Bernard and Sally will have 7 children in the coming years.
Now, more kids mean more helping hands on the farm. Though the conditions here aren't for the faint of heart, still, the Goodrich farm is growing. Crops are growing, apple trees are doing well, and there's more cows now. And even though other local farms are starting to fold up as families abandon their New Hampshire farms for more fertile soils in the West, the Goodriches continue to prosper.
But then, it's July of 1825 when tragedy strikes. Sally and Bernard's only daughter, Delia, dies from illness. She's only 2 years old. They bury her in a plot of land near the family's house.
Though the loss of Delia is tragic, these things do tend to happen. But Sally and Bernard are in for more than their share of tragedy less than a decade later. All right, it's now December of 1834. Winter has settled into these New Hampshire hills, and soon one of the Goodrich boys gets ill. Then another, and another. Smallpox is going around the community, and this plague can be a killer. By the time winter ends in 1835, 4 of the remaining boys and Bernard all pass away from the illness.
Oh, it's terrible.
They take their places alongside Delia in the family burial plot. 4 years later, another son, Samuel, dies, leaving Nathan as the only surviving child.
Now, Nathan marries Betsy Kate of Deerfield, and the couple have only one child in August of 1844, a boy named George. And George Goodrich is the real star of our story.
From a young age, George takes to farming life. He's good with the animals, with crops, and he doesn't mind getting dirty. It's part of the job, after all. And his grandmother is grateful.
She is. I mean, this farm the family built from nothing looks like it's going to live on. So many of New Hampshire hill farmers have moved west, so there's also less competition now, which means higher prices for crops, milk, butter, and other products.
The matriarch of the family, Sally, passes away in 1854, which leaves the farm in the hands of George Goodrich and his parents. Sally was 101 years old when she passed away. As we said, the Goodriches are tough.
Yeah.
Time goes by and George grows up in farm life. He regularly makes the trip in his horse-drawn carriage into nearby Raymond to sell apples from his orchard, or his maple syrup, or cream from the cows.
He's quickly gaining the reputation as quite the, eccentric.
Okay, how so?
First, he almost never wears shoes. He's barefoot all the time, even in cold weather.
Ugh, his feet must be disgusting.
Also, he doesn't shave. George grows his whiskers down to his chest. And then there's his clothes, if you can call them that. His pants are often torn off at the knee. His shirts are ripped and frayed everywhere. He doesn't look like a respectable member of society.
George Goodrich is the last of the hill farmers, and around Raymond, they know him better as the Barefoot Farmer of Pawtuckaway. With the lake nearby, this region is filling up with tourists, especially in the summer. And out-of-town folk take one look at the Barefoot Farmer and figure he must be some impoverished vagabond.
And they'd be wrong. The thing about George, he's rich.
Wow.
One of the wealthiest men in the region. First, he now owns a farm and hundreds of acres of land. Plus, with no other area farms, his business is booming. He dresses the way he does because he sees no need to make a fancy show of himself. He is who he is.
Now, the other thing about the Barefoot Farmer is he's taken up an expensive hobby. He's an amateur photographer, and his favorite subject to shoot is himself and his farm, which is why we have so many pictures of George working his land.
Plus, he's also known to take tourists on guided trips up into the hills. He takes their pictures and makes prints and postcards to sell back to them.
He's quite the enterprising man, but also quite the loner. When asked why he never married, folks around here will tell you that none of the local girls live up to his high standards. Once he's in his 50s, he decides to place an ad in the newspaper of Manchester, New Hampshire, looking for a wife. And that's how he meets and marries Susan Carlton.
George and Susan never have children. They live out their years on the farm as George takes photographs and makes stops in the town of Raymond, being the Barefoot Farmer.
George loves the land around his farm, and considering he's already been bringing tourists up here for years, he feels this land should be enjoyed by all, which is why George helps found the Pawtuckaway State Park. And that brings us back to today. When George Goodrich died, he left his land to the state to expand this park to what we see today. If you look at some of the old photographs George took, you see a different landscape. It was rolling hills back then with outcroppings of rock, not the thick forest that's grown over the last century.
So a book came out in 2007 about the Barefoot Farmer of Pawtuckaway, further cementing George Goodrich's reputation as a local folk icon. An eccentric, sure, but also an artist. While his photography never won any awards or anything like that, there's something so honest about it. There's this respect for the land and livestock that comes across in his pictures. His life seems simple, no need for frills, and maybe that's why we're still talking about him.
Because we're suddenly living in a no-frills time period once again, I guess.
Maybe that simpler time and simpler people are something we pine for during these complicated times. I know it's cold out there in the woods of Pawtuckaway, New Hampshire, Ray, but I don't know, what do you say? You want to go barefoot back to the car?
No, I don't. I love how we remember the eccentrics.
Sure.
Though many judge them by their appearance or outward behavior, a deeper dive always shows us something more interesting. If you want to see some pictures of George Goodrich and other photos he took, head over to our website and click on episode 173.
And while you're there, you'll find a link on how to become one of our beloved Patreon patrons. These folks kick in just $3 per month to get early access to new episodes, plus bonus episodes and content that no one else gets to hear. We appreciate you folks more than we can say. If you want to join us, head over to patreon.com/New England Legends to sign up.
Also, be sure to subscribe to our podcast and tell a friend or two about us. The more people who share these stories, the more strange tales that come in for all of us to explore.
We'd like to thank our sponsor, Nuwadi Herbals, and of course our theme music is by John Judd.
Hi, this is the Friedels from Welcome, North Carolina. Until next time, remember,
the bizarre is closer than you think.